Okay, students, so in this last part, we got to make sure we read the question, all right? Because if you might blindly look at the problem and say, oh, midpoint somewhere right there. Well, time out. Let's actually read the question. It says, suppose in the graph on the right, A is the midpoint. So A, this is the midpoint. We need to find the coordinates of P to make A the midpoint. All right, so we got G, which is an endpoint. A is the midpoint. Well, what's the coordinates of P? So, a famous technique that we're allowed to use is counting. Notice how I go 3 this way and 2 up. So to replicate that, to make A the midpoint, go 3 to the right, 2 up, boom, there's P. And that would make GA and AP congruent and have equal lengths. So just another fun fact, remember that means congruent. That means segment GA is congruent to segment AP. And then we can say that GA has the same length as AP. So this is talking about lengths. This up here is talking about the shape itself. Just a very, very small detail in geometry, but we say shapes are congruent, numbers are equal. All right. So, furthermore, let's we'll talk about it actually down here. We'll do it down here. All right. So, counting, great technique. We're allowed to use it a lot. I don't care when you use it if you're able to do it correctly. But what if we're not given a graph? Or what if the numbers become crazy and there's some decimals and all that stuff right there? Like, what do we do? So, A is the midpoint of PL. So that means that A right here, this is a midpoint. So I'm going to call that XM, YM. And I kind of referenced this earlier. And then we got P, which is an end point. So this can be X sub 1 or Y sub 1 or X1, Y1, or X2, Y2, it doesn't matter. But we're getting a midpoint and an endpoint. We have to find the other endpoint. We have to find the coordinates of L. And that's why we also wrote the formula like this, X sub M. So we can solve for the missing part. So I'm going to just rewrite it again down here. We got X sub M. We're just going to focus on the X right now. All right, now I'm going to be very tedious. So it's saying X, the midpoint is -2. I have an end point, which falls at 0. I need to find the other end point, X sub 2. So I'm just going to plug in these things. So it's -2, 0 plus X sub 2 over 2. All right, so once I can solve this, or once I get this far, I'm in much better shape. All right, now we got a fraction. I know you students don't really care for fractions that much. What I'm going to do first is just simplify this numerator right here. I'm going to say, well, 0 plus X sub 2 is just X sub 2 over 2. And how do I undo division? Easy, multiply. So I'm going to get -4 equals X sub 2. All right. So now we're going to do the same things, but for the y's. So I have Y sub M equals Y sub 1 plus Y sub 2 over 2. And then I'm just very tediously going to plug in everything. So I got 4 is the midpoint of my Y, and I got -1 right there. So this is going to look a little different. And we're going to have to go about solving it just slightly different than the x's, because I'm not adding 0 in the numerator over here. So what I like to do is solving this problem right here. You guys might be shaking your boots a little scared. I'm going to put a parentheses around this numerator. So it's -1 plus Y sub 2 all divided by 2. And remember, how do you undo division? we got to follow the order of operations, or the reverse order of operations, I should say, when we're solving, is you just multiply by 2. So I'm going to cancel the 2's on this right-hand side. There's no distributing. They simplify to 1. And I'm going to be left with 8 on this left-hand side. And then -1 plus y sub 2. And then from here, you just add 1 to both sides, and you're going to get 9 equals y sub 2. Circle it. So the x-coordinates are, the coordinates of L are -4 and 9. I'm going to circle it. All right, very algebra dense, but that's good. Algebra builds our number sense, helps with our just general skills overall. So same thing, we're going to read the problem. Let's read this problem. D and R are endpoints. Oh my gosh, I was given the endpoints. I gotta find the midpoint. All right, so technically I could still organize it. I could still use all this stuff up here. That's the same thing. Or I could just write giant M. So I like to do this version when I'm solving for the midpoint. What's up top works for either one. You'll just be calculating the number and solving. So again, it's good to be tedious. Let's be very detailed. I'm going to label that as x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and then just plug in everything. 18 plus 32 divided by 2, and then 9 plus 7 divided by 2. So you're going to get 18 plus 32 is 50 divided by 2. 9 plus 7 is 16 divided by 2. So the midpoint would be located at 25, 8. Nice. One more problem left, and you just got some follow-up Canvas questions. So exciting. D is the endpoint and R is the midpoint. So this problem is going to be like number 4. We're given an endpoint and a midpoint. We have to read the question. We have to figure out what information we have and what information we need to solve. So D is an endpoint, so I'm going to write EP for endpoint. Let's go ahead and call it x sub 1, y sub 1. And R is a midpoint, so that's going to be my xm, ym. We got to find the other coordinates. We got to find the coordinates of A. So remember, I have x sub m equals x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. So then just plugging in everything, being very tedious, my x sub m is 5, x sub 1 is -2, and I'm solving for x sub 2. And what I like to do is put parentheses around this, multiply by 2, because that's how I undo the divide by 2. Right hand side simplifies to 1, so they're canceled, and I got 10 equals -2 plus x sub 2. Add 2 to both sides. I get 12 equals x sub 2. Same thing over here for my y's. You get the midpoint of y equals y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. We're going to get -1 equals 6 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. And again, let's just be very careful, very tedious. Put parentheses around all that junk. Don't distribute on this right-hand side because they cancel out. That was the whole punchline. Subtract 6 from both sides, and we're going to get -8 equals y sub 2. And then, so A is 12, -8. Nice. All right. Follow-up questions on Canvas, complete them. Make sure we submit this, and have a good rest of your day.